Well, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the What the Fuck America podcast. I am Jake, along with Matt. Let's get into the show. Here's big news, Matt. Have you heard the news?
I've heard the word,
Oh,
but
what
not
word?
the news.
What word have you heard?
Bird is the word.
Is that a bird? Bird is.
We should get a sound. We need a soundboard.
We really should. They're expensive as shit, though. Not as expensive as Twitter, though. Ha ha! That was that was a segue.
How much billions? 44 billion. Is that
Something
how
like
much it
that.
is?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
So that's the word today, or the news, ladies and gentlemen. Elon Musk has secured funding to buy Twitter and is most likely. I think there's some legalese bullshit that still has to happen, but Elon Musk should be the new owner of Twitter. So
Yeah.
that'll be interesting.
Hey, people might actually go back and maybe it'll be a place of like a real salon,
A
a
real wild,
salon
wild
of
west.
ideals, of ideas and blasphemy,
Yeah,
That's what America's missing.
exactly. Because my opinion on the way the world is right now is we have been manufacturally consented into whatever the fuck is happening right now. Because if you go and talk to a random person and you ask them, uh, Matt, do you know what a Latinx is?
Only because I've heard it referenced so many freaking times on everything I listen to.
Okay,
Um, I was calling them Latinx because
Latinx,
I
yep.
thought that's what it was. Yeah.
So for those of you that don't know, Latinx is some non-gendered term to call Latin people, or Mexicans or Spanish people or whatever the fuck
Well,
it happens to be,
it's not a particular country. It's just
of the
wi-
Latin
yeah,
origin.
without saying Hispanic.
Yep. And to make sure
Yeah.
it's not gendered too, because
Oh yeah.
Spanish is a gendered language. Because I'm pretty sure the moon is La Luna, which is female. I'm pretty sure. But I could be wrong. I don't know shit.
I think you're right.
Um, but so, Latinx is something that all of Twitter knows. But if you go in the real world and you ask people of Latin origin, only 3% of them know what the fuck you're talking about. But somehow we're made to believe in this manufactured world, this manufactured reality, this manufactured what's a better word than reality? This manufactured
Matrix.
matrix. That Latinx is the real term, and we need to call everyone Latinx because that's what they prefer. Even though it's just fucking three white women on Twitter being fucking cunts.
Yeah, because most of them are too busy working.
Yeah, doing real life things to be worried about what pronoun or non-specific gender to be called. Um, so we're going to talk a little bit about, or actually a lot of bit about Twitter today and all the implications and bullshit. But one story which I didn't tell you about, which you might have heard, Kevin McCarthy, I think his name was, the would-be Republican Speaker of the House. I think his name was Kevin McCarthy. He is a cunt. I don't know why he's a cunt.
Is he the one? Yeah, I thought is he the one like crying over not being picked to be the speaker or something like that?
Well, he's about to not be picked.
Oh, right. Maybe that's it.
He was recorded after the quote unquote insurrection happened. He was recorded on call saying that Donald Trump should resign and that Trump needs to resign and that he was going to call Trump and tell Trump to resign. So, if any of you ever want to know how useless and pathetic fucking Republicans are, you have the Speaker of the House of Representatives under a Republican controlled House. That guy wants to call, so the Speaker for all Republicans and all of Congress, because the left said Donald Trump was an insurrectionist, he was going to call Donald Trump and ask him to resign because he's a
The Republican president. The
Yes.
Republican president. Yeah.
Yes. He's just a feckless fucking ass bag.
Well, the whole party is, and so is the opposite party. All those parties are just bullshit. Even the independents. The independents have a hard time, right? Because there's not enough of them to make noise, right?
To make a difference.
Right. So they really don't have like a huge stake, while they have a small leaning, I think, towards your Democratic Party, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But that was just a quick little tidbit that I wanted to throw in there.
But that's the thing with these career politicians, right?
Yep.
That's the thing with these career politicians. There's a guy I think running right now. I forget who he's running against, but he's talking about how, you know, he says I'm not a career politician. He's like, I work. You know, he's like, I've done. You know, he said,
oh, is that the guy in Tennessee?
Maybe he's like, I work, like, you know, he's a construction worker or something. He said, you know, as a Republican, he said, I'll even defend using union workers on certain jobs. And I'll explain that, you know, all that kind of stuff. So it's like, you know, kind of going against the grain in some sense, you know, especially with labor, you know, because he supports labor, which is kind of not really their thing, like, but it is, right?
It's becoming their thing.
Yeah, because people need to fucking work, and it seems they're the only ones who realize, hey, we need people to get back to work.
Yep.
Nobody's working. Nobody's doing these jobs. That's why we're dependent. You know, they can say shortage. It's all Russia's fault. Blah 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 blah. However, if we didn't, we'll use World War II for an example, right? World War II happened. The women went to work, right? They worked in the factories. They worked in the mines. They worked in the cars. They did everything, right? They worked on the planes and all the shit.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so that was all done at home. We weren't importing so much shit.
Yep.
That our country couldn't get by. Like, we had people going to the store and buying specific things to help the war effort, right?
Yep.
Now,
or not buying things to help the war effort.
Right, exactly, to conserve, and that's where we go back to last week's episode where we talk about what are we conserving, right?
Well, yeah, exactly.
So, and what it is to conserve, right, and why you conserve. So, but to get back to what I was saying is, though, now we are so dependent on other countries, they can get away with saying, oh, there's a shortage because of this, there's a shortage because of that. And people are going to believe it because everybody knows we don't manufacture shit in this country. Yep. Everybody would, I can almost guarantee you, if people had a job that contributed, and think about it, if we were to put, say, 30% of our import, start manufacturing those things here, whatever it may be, say 30%, right? Think about how many jobs that probably is. Yep. And when people, but when people are working, the government's not pulling in as much money, right?
Well, they're pulling in more money.
Right, but the government's less, or the people are less reliant on them because they're making it for themselves, and the government cannot have that, especially the Democratic Party, because they are a weak fucking party. Right now, they've got everybody brainwashed,
all because of the manufactured consent of social media.
Right. Well, social media, and that's where we lie today. You know.
Yep.
So
And that's
continue
the,
with your
the
Twitter
big thing.
rant.
The big thing too is government regulations cause corporations to go overseas.
Right.
So let's say you have this big green energy bill, and all of a sudden, every single manufacturing plant has to install all LEDs or they get fined. Well, now you have to worry about getting fined and installing a shit ton of LEDs, which costs more money. Okay, one thing maybe not that big of a deal. Now you have to install high efficiency toilets. Okay, so now you have to take out your toilets, install new toilets, and pay for all that. So now that's kind of two things that have added up, kind of a inconvenience. Now all of a
And
sudden
yeah.
you get taxed per liter of carbon your factory sprays out into the fucking ether. Now what? And it's just constant government regulation. Now, I'm not opposed to some government regulations. I mean, obviously, you don't take fucking arsenic and dump it into the fucking ocean. That would be idiotic and moronic. Like that's just common sense stuff. But when you have a government that constantly regulates and regulates and regulates, and that's not coming from the right. The right are more free market than the left. Granted, the right has just constantly been going further and further left throughout the years. But what happens when corporations realize, oh, there's a billion Chinese people we can use as slave labor because China doesn't give a fuck.
That's right.
It's common sense. If you are a business person and your only job is to make money, it's a no-brainer. It's a no fucking brainer that you're going to send all these jobs overseas. It just makes sense. Now,
That's right.
that only helps corporations. That doesn't help individuals. Sure, we might get a little bit cheaper stuff over here, but your $30 shoes as opposed to a pair of $15 shoes, while you're making $10 now, you could have probably been making $40 instead of the 10 you're making now if you had a good paying job. It's government regulation, man. Government regulation. It's
Well, not
bullshit.
to mention all the cost for the shipping and stuff like that. That's all up to the
Baked
consumer.
into the price.
That's why that's why fucking tariffs and sanctions and all that bullshit, like
Yep.
that shit don't fucking work. Nobody gives a fuck. The only reason why they even put it out there in the news is because those kind of words, people, remember we talked about this earlier, people are stupid, right?
Yep.
The person is a smart person. The person is smart, but
Yep.
people are stupid and panicky, right? So when they hear a word like inflation and
Tariff
tariffs
or
and
shortage or
yeah, stuff like that, that's a fucking word designed and used to
to
make you,
manufacture.
yeah, it's a manufactured fear and consent. Like, oh shit, yeah, we gotta, yeah, fuck those Russians, right? That's what they're
Yep.
telling you now. Fuck those Russians. They're making my gas higher priced. It's not that.
No.
It's
It's
because you
it's
shut down
somewhat
manufacturing. You
like
shut
it
down
has
production. They
yeah,
shut down production and they
for
had to come up with an excuse. And wow,
two
what a perfect
years.
excuse. Yeah.
For 2 years,
Yeah.
they shut down everything. Whole countries were shut down. Now, with no one working, where do you think your stuff is going to come from?
Right.
It doesn't just materialize into the fucking store. It has to be made somewhere. But it's neither here nor there. Let's talk about Twitter. Twatta.
Yeah. Twatta.
Twitter is a metaphorical and literal shit show and should be burned to the ground and its ashes fed to a whale. That whale murdered, burned for candlelight in fucking Japan by the fucking Japanese people. And then every person that has inhaled that whale oil should also be sacrificed into a volcano so we never know about Twitter again.
Tell me how you really feel.
That being said, Twitter was just bought by Elon Musk, which could turn out to be a good thing.
That's what a lot of people are saying.
There's a lot of rumblings now, which he could have just made a massive cascade into more government regulations, because now the improper billionaire, the billionaire they don't like, the billionaire they don't like is now in charge of the public square, basically. So, you should also, if you can you find out what other billionaires own media? Because if I remember right, I think there's like 4 billionaires in the most recent years that have bought like either media companies or social media companies. And it's just funny to see all these fucking assholes, these disingenuous fucking hacks, sit there and say it's bad because the wrong billionaire is doing it. So, Elon Musk bought Twitter, a billionaire. Obviously, everyone hates him because he's fighting climate change with his electric vehicles, and he's a literal neo-Nazi who supports apartheid, and he wants more free speech instead of less. So the left obviously hate him, and they have been. It's been some of the best, most historic fucking crying I've ever seen in my life, and I've enjoyed it thoroughly. Brian Stelter from CNN, he gave the greatest example. He said, now let's say you're invited to a party with absolutely no rules and all of the freedom. Would you even want to go to that party? I mean,
all of the rules and none of the freedom?
With no rules and all of the freedom. He asked if you would want to go to a party like that.
Of course I would.
What kind of dumbass question is that, Brian Stelter? When is more freedom a bad thing? When is more freedom a bad thing? Obviously, there are extreme examples. In the case we used last week, where complete and free markets means child porn. Complete free markets means child porn and child sex slavery and all that shit. That's an obvious extreme. No one wants that. Let me rephrase that. The Democrats want that. The normal people don't want that. So obviously, it's one of those yin and yang things. But anyway, so Brian Stelter used more freedom as fear-mongering, which is just insane to me. It really shows you where things are in the world, where you have Brian Stelter saying more freedom is a bad thing. Less rules are a bad thing. It's just clownish. Perfect. This is exactly what I want to bring up.
You gotta scroll down a bit. You scroll down a bit, it'll tell you each one of there's like 5 billionaires.
It's fantastic.
And they own everything.
Yep. So let's do the first one. The Washington Post. Yep. And you'll have to remind me who this guy is, because I don't know what his corporation is or who he really is. But the Washington Post was recently bought by Amazon founder. So did he make the rainforest?
Yeah, I guess.
Okay.
Wow. Amazon.com. The people that buy this, you buy the stuff, it comes to your house. They got television shows that they bring back from the dead, all this shit.
by Jeff Bozo.
Yeah, Bozo. No,
Bezos
Bozy, but
by Jeff
Bozos.
Bezos. So
Bozes.
Bezos,
Bozes.
yes. So the Washington Post, who is the Amazon founder and billionaire Jeff Bezos, purchased the Washington Post in 2016 for $250 million. That's interesting. Some of the
It's not
paper's
very much.
columnists have vocally opposed Musk's efforts. A left-leaning media outlet purchased a column from former CEO of Reddit, Ellen K. Powell, headlined Musk's vision of free speech will be bad for Twitter. Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. What about the Atlantic? So the Atlantic is another article thingy.
Yep.
I don't know who this person is either.
I know who she is.
Laureen Powell Jobs, the widow of Steve. Who's Steve Jobs again? I don't know that name.
He's the dude from Apple.
Oh, so he
The
like
turtleneck guy from Cancer. The
so
turtleneck guy with the cancer.
had the tree of Adam and Eve,
Ashton
and then the snake.
Kutcher. Ashton Kutcher and Mila Kunis played him and Eve, and they ate the apples.
Okay,
And then
all
I
right.
think one of them made a phone call, maybe to God, and was like,
And said this
"Please,
bitch is crazy.
please take this cancer from me." And then he was like, "Okay,"
And
and
then
then
he
God
died
killed him.
because he's
Yeah,
cancerous.
yeah.
So Lauren Powell Jobs, the widow of Steve Jobs, became the majority owner of the Atlantic in 2017. Prior to the 2016 election, the Atlantic endorsed Hillary Clinton over Donald Trump because he's a Nazi. Oh, I almost read this name wrong.
Who's a Nazi?
Donald Trump, clearly.
Oh yeah, I forgot. Yeah. Okay.
Twitter is where journalists congregate and do a lot of their work, and they really don't want to be working on Elon Musk's private playpen, said some Axios fucking reporter, who is an absolute
Mhm.
cunt.
Felix Salmon. What a
Fuck that
dumb
guy.
name. He's
Ooh,
named for a fish. Ooh.
Time Magazine, I believe this is.
Yes.
I
This
almost
one's
said,
interesting.
is it? You want to take this one? My voice is starting to hurt a little bit.
Oh, is it? You freaking wuss. I'm just kidding. I think his name is Mark Bainoff or Bainoff. I've only heard this from the propaganda report. The guy from Salesforce, the CEO, and his wife Lynn, they purchased Time, the magazine Time, the one that came out and said that they fortified an election so that Joe Biden
Oh
could win.
yeah.
So they purchased Time magazine in 2018 for $190 million. And guess what? I bet you that was quite the investment for them because, and then look, it even says throughout the Trump administration, Time was hailed for its controversial photos showing a chaotic, scandal plagued White House, often depicting President Trump in an unflattering manner. Their covers often insinuated Trump was controlled by Russian President Vladimir Putin. This differs from covers often. Oh, wait. This differs from their recent cover that depicted President Biden in a positive light regarding Russia. Several months prior to Russia's invasion into Ukraine, Biden met with Putin, in which Times cover illustration featured Biden in his signature aviator shades with the headline "Taking on Putin." Oh,
Manufactured Matrix, everybody. That's what we're
let's
gonna
move
start
on.
calling it.
Let's move on to another one that you'll love. Bloomberg,
Oh,
former New York City mayor and billionaire media mogul Mike Bloomberg owns the eponymous, I don't know how to say that word, eponymous media company,
yeah.
eponymous media company, which has published critical columns about the possible takeover by the world's richest man. in quotes. Perhaps some equity partner will take a gamble on the possibility that at a private Twitter, Musk will be in charge of memes and trolling, and his partner will be in charge of like finances and strategy. Or perhaps he could get a league of libertarian billionaires together to buy Twitter as their collective toy. Groused columnist Matt Levine. Um, yeah, so there was some stuff, other stuff. Yep. Then um Bloomberg ran for the president in
Yes, he
2020
did.
for the Democratic Party. Imagine what that would have been like. Oh, so then you got the Los Angeles Times. I don't know this fool. Patrick Soon Shiong sounds pretty Chinese to me. Was that racist? Did I sound
No.
racist?
So Sun Xiong was born in Port Elizabeth, Republic of South Africa, to Chinese immigrant parents who fled from China during the Japanese occupation in World War II.
Nice. Anyway, so he is probably buddies with. Oh no, his paper has written critically on Elon Musk's efforts as well. The paper published a news article headlined "Elon Musk's paradoxical vision of running Twitter: less democracy, more freedom," where it quoted one academic who bristled at the idea of a powerful billionaire running the outlet. Like, what the fuck difference does it make? Maybe he'll just be like, stop fighting everybody, or else nobody can post on it, and I'll blow it up like Jake wants. Because Jake is the smartest man alive, apparently.
That would be the dream right there.
But those are your billionaire assholes that are controlling your
thoughts and
your Twitter. Like, that's on your Twitter. They're
Yep.
all on your Twitter. That's why they're upset, because now they have, oh shit, someone now has bought this platform. We
not
can't
just
have a platform like
someone
this.
that wants more freedom and less democracy. And remember, when they say democracy, they don't mean the constitutional republic we live under today. They mean their hegemonic power over institutes, over colleges, over media, over you.
They mean majority rules. That's insanity.
Yep.
To me, that's insanity.
Yes, it is.
Like, you can't live like that. You can't
Nope.
live like that.
Nope.
The fucking
Democracy-
Spartans knew that shit.
Yep. Yep. Democracy is the god that failed. Democracy is not a good value to hold.
Yeah.
Now,
Democracy
obviously,
is the god that gave men nipples.
So yeah, those are the 5 billionaires that bought your media companies and your social media companies because they think they know best. But so yeah, Elon Musk bought Twitter, as I've said 10 times already. And there's several ways this could go. And it's already sparked a lot of talk about Section 230, which is another subject we'll have to touch on. Hopefully, not briefly, but so Elon Musk could do several things with Twitter. He could turn it into a good platform. I'm getting the hold on. I'm not sure if that's for me or for. He could turn it into a good platform. I wasn't sure if you were telling me to hold on because I was talking.
Oh no, keep going. No, keep going. Yeah.
So he could turn it into a good platform where free speech, to Elon Musk's definition, which that's one of the things about free speech that is interesting. There's the letter of the law and the spirit of the law. Spirit of the law would be, you and I believe in free speech, therefore no one should censor anyone. That's the spirit of the law. That being said, there's nothing in the Constitution that says a private corporation cannot censor you. For instance, if Twitter all of a sudden wanted to decide they no longer allow gang members to be on said platform, that's well within their prerogative. If they all of a sudden decided they don't want religious things on their platform, that's well within their right. The issue comes in with the application of said rules. If I, as a right leaning individual, were to tweet a death threat at Nancy Pelosi, as I've done once in the past, I would get in trouble. If some insane left person were to tweet a death threat at me, that tweet would be okay. That tweet would remain up. You ask any of the Republican and more freedom leaning people on the internet if they have been harassed by leftists, they would tell you yes, and their tweets still remain up. So it's the unequal application of said Twitter's rules, which is truly the issue here. If no one is allowed to tweet death threats, why is one side allowed to? If no one is allowed to dox, why is one side allowed to? And that's the big issue with Twitter as it sits as a platform under the fucking crazy communists' rule. And as we can see here with this beautiful Vox article, employee donations to midterm candidates by party. And this was when is this article? 2018. This is absolutely incredible and shows you kind of where things stand with all your information that you're getting. You have Netflix, Twitter, Apple, Google and Alphabet, Facebook, Microsoft, Amazon, Uber, Hewlett Packard, Intel, and Oracle, and those are most of them.
Stripe is an online bank too.
Oh yeah.
Those Salesforce, that's huge. Facebook, Tesla, eBay, PayPal, Microsoft, Amazon, all these motherfuckers.
Yep.
They're everybody.
Yep. So
this is the world.
This is pretty much all your information. This is where you get all your information from.
Yeah.
So Netflix, employee donations to midterm candidates by party. 99.6% of employee donations to midterm candidates were to Democrats. Let's take Twitter. 98.7% of all employee contributions to political parties from Twitter were to Democrats. Why don't you go ahead and take Apple, Matt?
That's crazy. 1,218.
Which was 97.5% to Democrats.
That's insane.
Google and Alphabet, which is, Google and YouTube, 96%.
Yeah, Alphabet is their parent company or some shit like that.
Yep.
Or whatever.
What about Facebook? 94.5%.
So that's saying, this thing is saying that 94% of employee donations go to
the Democratic Party.
Yeah, because this graph is a little wonky. However, I can read it all right here. That's fucking nuts, dude.
Yep.
PayPal, online bank, Microsoft, information, Amazon, information. Think about this. What happens because Amazon, I think, also has, I think we talked about it briefly before, where they have the licensing to print books and shit like that. What happens when they're the only print book left? And then instead of burning books, they end up just getting thrown into trash eventually, and you only get specific books made for certain things. More information. Hewlett Packard, there's your computers. Intel, there's your processors. Oracle, I don't know what that is, but it sounds like DC Comics dispatcher of superheroes or something. I don't know.
One thing I didn't look any further in this article, but this is interesting. This really shows you an interesting thing. As a whole, more than half of PAC donations, which are Political Action Committee donations, to candidates by tech companies went to Republicans this election cycle. Compare that with more than 85% of donations by internet companies, employees going to Democrats. So, where's Twitter? 54% of Twitter as a company, their donations went to Republicans.
Yeah. As the
Which
company.
which is interesting because who was in power in 2018? It was the Republicans.
Trump. Yeah.
So, of course, they're going to donate to the party that has power. The only real outlier here is Tesla, who donated about 80% to Democrats, which is interesting because I don't remember exactly who owns Tesla, but I think it was a billionaire that just recently bought a tech company, if I remember right. Right?
I believe he bought a social media company. I think.
Interesting.
I think he was on that list we were just doing. I X'd out of the list, but I think his name what was his name? Reminds with Dusk.
Tusk?
Tusk.
Musk. That's Elon Musk. Elon Musk,
Yeah.
his company, donated 80% to Democrats. But yes, the people, the vast majority that make up the employees at these tech companies, because they're all based in your liberal fucking hellscapes, the vast majority went to Democrats. Well, the more telling thing, your corporations, your companies, they donate to who's in power by only a slight margin. Kind of makes you wonder, huh? Who's really
Well,
running the show?
I know who's running the show. The World Economic Forum and these companies are part of that.
Yep.
We say it every week.
Oh, Matt's dying. Yeah, we talk about it all the time. It's actually, I should probably say the thing that I thought of. Free markets ran by government is corporatism. Free markets ran by people is capitalism. That's kind of an easy way to think about things. Because if government keeps on regulating and regulating and regulating businesses, eventually it will make winners. It will make corporations like Amazon, like Google, like Apple, like Twitter, who hold all the power. And that's what we're seeing today.
Yeah. What a bunch of dicks.
What a bunch of dicks.
Well, I mean, you know me, I'm not on Twitter, and I just hear about it all the time because I try to keep up with like what's happening in the country. Um Surprisingly enough, I didn't either I'm not paying attention because it just all sounds the same to me, or nothing really new happening. All of a sudden, it's like a slow week in the retarded adventure of Joe Biden as president.
Yep.
Um, we had a guy fucking go crazy.
Oh yeah, the
Um,
climate activist.
yeah. I know nothing about this. Like you told me about it, and then I asked my wife if she heard about it, and she said no. And I'm like, well, how's that not all over Facebook? Is this like something they're trying to hush? Like, what are you
Yep.
nuts? Happened
So
right in the Capitol.
we can briefly touch on that. I want to do one more little bit about Twitter.
Oh yeah, keep going on Twitter. I'm just wondering about all this stuff because you know me, ugh. I started listening to music, and all of a sudden, I forget everything.
So, one real brief, and we won't go too deep into it because Section 230 requires a whole video to basically discuss. But the basic idea is Section 230 was put there in place so that way your cell phone and your telephone companies, if you were a Nazi on a telephone company, or if you were a Nazi and you had a telephone in your house, the telephone company was not reliable or responsible for the things you said on said line. So if you're a Nazi and you call your other Nazi friend and you're sitting there spouting your Nazi shit on the telephone line, the landline, they would not be held responsible or liable legally for that speech. Now, transfer that to today. Section 230 protects all these social media companies. So that way, when I put out a tweet, Twitter is not liable legally for what I have said. It's essentially the difference between publisher and a platform. A platform is somewhere where everyone gets the chance to speak, and the platform is not liable for the speech. A publisher would be the New York Times. They would be liable for what their journalist put out there. So, it's no wonder now that all these Democrats want stronger reforms on Section 230 to go after hate speech, to go after misinformation, to go after all these undefinable terms that are subjective to everyone. I don't believe in hate speech, I don't believe in misinformation, and I don't believe in disinformation. Those words mean nothing to me. But to the left, those words mean everything. And they're subjective. One leftist might think me calling someone a faggot is hate speech, while another might not. And it's just, you cannot nail, it's like trying to stick Jello to a tree with staples. You can't fucking nail it down.
That was a good one.
I've heard that one before and I've always liked it. So it's just it's more subversive ways they can remain their democracy on information. So, yeah. But let's talk about that fucking climate activist.
Yeah, what's up with that guy, man?
So,
what happened?
I don't know too much about it, but there was a thing back, I want to say in the 90s maybe, called the Arab Springs. Let's see. Or maybe it was the 2000s. I don't remember because I didn't pay attention to fucking anything back then. The 2010s. So the Arab Springs was a series of anti-government protests, uprisings, and armed rebellions that spread across much of the Arab world in the early 2010s. And the reason why it happened, let's see, from what I remember, there was a dude that went and lit himself on fire in front of some Arab parliament, and shit just popped off. That was the ultimate catalyst. Obviously, there were more factors that led up to it, like food not being available and all this other shit, and just shitty treatment in the Muslim world in general. But it spread like full-blown revolutions in the Middle East. Some dude lighting himself on fire. Now, if I remember right, some some Colorado guy went to the United States Supreme Court and lit himself ablaze in front of the Supreme Court of the United States. I'm not sure his motives, but I think he was a climate activist. So obviously he was, enacting what he believes to be the next 10 years of human existence, everything's going to be on fire because of climate change. But that's all I can remember.
All right, the Tunisian Burning Man. That's how that started.
The Tunisian Burning Man.
Yeah, that's what started the whole thing. He set himself on fire in 2010 during the Arab Spring.
Damn.
He's the one. He was a street vendor who set
Yeah, I think a
himself on
food cart
fire
guy.
on 17th December 2010 in Ben Arous, Tunisia, which became a catalyst for the Tunisian Revolution and the wider Arab Spring against autocratic regimes. His self-immolation was in response to the confiscation of his wares and harassment and humiliation inflicted on him by a municipal official and her AIDS. She had AIDS, bro.
Full blown AIDS.
That's probably why he fucking decided to burn himself. He knew he could never get rid of that shit.
Yep. And that's one of the things, the media has been. That's one of the things about Twitter too. Just to go briefly back to that. A lot of these people have been the people that are now on your media stations, your propaganda box, your what would it be called? Yeah, we'll just call it your propaganda box. Saying now Elon Musk can hide stories that would be harmful to elections, kind of like you did with Hunter Biden's laptop story. And same thing here. They're not talking about this guy lighting himself on fire in front of DC. I think for fears that it might start some wider spread issue. And that's one thing I think government, we're at a stage where the people fear the government and not the other way around.
I just typed in DC Burning Man and it brought me to the Burning Man website, like the festival.
Not the guy that lit himself on fire, of course.
No, not that guy. And then the next post is it's about the festival. Yeah. Okay, cool. So DC man burns self, sets self aflame. Damn.
Yep.
Wine Bruce.
Yep, that's his name.
Wow. Why in front of the Supreme Court?
Because Brett Kavanaugh's a rapist.
I mean, why not do it on the steps of Congress, man? They're the ones controlling the climate.
Yeah.
They're the ones using the button and the stuff in the sky, according to some people we know. So
On April 23rd, a Zen Buddhist priest who described herself as Bruce's friend shared an emotional post on her public Twitter account saying his self-immolation was not suicide, but a deeply fearless act of compassion to bring attention to the climate crisis. She added that Bruce had been planning the act for at least a year. She wrote, "Win Bruce, I am so moved." She got sympathetic responses as well as backlash.
what about this
Yep.
other guy that burned himself in front of the White House? Or is that the same guy, just they're lying that it was in front of the White House?
Oh, wow. Killing yourself is considered damaging in Buddhism because life is precious, he said. But if a person self-immolates because of a higher motivation, and it's not out of a negative emotion such as depression or sadness, then the Buddhist position becomes far more complex. If self-immolation is done to help the world, it might be accepted as a positive action, Burnett said. He cited a story from the Gen. Not even going to try. Not even going to try. A body of South Asian literature concerning the prior incarceration of the Buddhist in human and animal form. In the particular tale, an incarnation of the Buddha, in an act of selfless compassion, offers himself as an emaciated tigress who was so hungry that she was ready to devour her own cubs. But that kind of self sacrifice is not encouraged, developed, or talked about for normal people. Well, Buddhists are crazy, I guess.
Something, man. See, and that's the other thing. While we're sitting here sending all this money to all these other goddamn countries, we have sick individuals here that could probably benefit
You know what
from
that guy probably could have used?
what?
A fucking Sri Lankan speedboat.
I know. He'd probably be having a blast right now on it, burning up all that fuel, fucking putting a hole in the ozone layer. I wonder how much pollution he created by burning his goddamn
So,
body
so Crowder actually did a video talking about that, and I think it was like 600 gallons
of fuel.
of like carbon emissions. How much
Carbon emission comes off the human body when
does
being
a
burnt.
burning human body emit?
Game changer for Americans in debt. 0% APR until nearly 2024. Today's show is sponsored by Pay Your Broke Ass Bills. Right now.
Yeah, I don't know if I'll be able to find it, but uh, what gases are? Oh, here we go. Carbon gas. Um,
Yeah. So,
oh man, I can't find it, but yeah, effects of cremation on the environment. This will be good.
yeah.
Um, so the air supply is controlled. A 68 kilogram body, which contains 65% water, will require 100 megajoules of thermal energy before any combustion can take place. This is equivalent to three. Okay, that's not what I'm looking for. Cremation. Oh man, damn. In addition to harmless compounds such as water, emissions include carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, nitrogen oxide, sulfur dioxide, blah blah blah. Organic compounds. Study that filter and cremation fumes has little effect on toxins released. However, compared to yearly toxins released worldwide, cremation only contributes to a very small fraction of harmful compound gas. So he actively hurt. Granted, it says a very small fraction of harmful compounds or greenhouse gases. He still contributed to the death of the ozone more than I have. So fuck that guy.
I agree. Although it does take some balls to fucking burn yourself alive.
I would never. Suicide by
Hell no.
cop before anything.
Hell yeah, man. Like, Jesus Christ. Because you know when you're doing that, someone is going to put you out. It's
Well,
it's like, how long am I gonna burn until someone puts me out? And
yeah.
then it's like, I hope I die because I don't want to go to jail with all these burns on me. Then
Yeah.
I'll fucking die, because you'll die.
Well, and that's there was actually video of the screams he was emitting. Oh man, that was not fun to listen to.
Yeah, I bet.
Yep,
It
just
won't
fucking
be listening to that.
Lit himself on fire.
But that also goes along with the fucking consent shit, right? Or the manufactured fear bullshit, because the way
Yep.
they're gonna depict it in this whole, anytime you see it now, you're gonna either hear the scream, see the fire, see this,
Yep. Well, and he was, because I personally don't believe in climate change. I'm to the point of I don't believe in climate change out of spite reasons. It might exist, but now I'm just spiteful at all these assholes to now where I don't believe it exists. But he was essentially fear-mongered into self-immolating himself, which is just insane to me. Fucking insane. But that's what I got for you today. Twitter's a shit show. Some dude lit himself on fire. Kevin McCarthy. I want to make sure I got his name right because I don't know if it's Kevin McCarthy.
I think you're right.
Kevin McCarthy. Yep.
Douchebag.
Yep.
Then you got this other fucking one. Now they got articles about this other one in a wheelchair that
Oh,
brought a
Madison
gun on a
Cawthorn.
plane. Yeah, that brought a gun on a plane. Then you got fucking Eye Patch Willie with his fucking stupid face
Oh,
taking
Dan
up
Crenshaw.
time on my. Yep.
Yep.
All of them. I'm tired of all these fucking guys. Like,
See,
what the fuck?
Madison Cawthorn, I think he might be okay. So right now they're trying to get him barred from ever running for politics again.
Well, because he was on a plane with a gun.
And the insurrection bullshit. Right now they're doing the same thing to Marjorie Taylor Greene. They're trying
Oh,
to
yeah, I saw
disbar
that
her from
too.
ever running again
Yeah, I
because
saw
she
that too.
incited some insurrection or something.
Yeah,
All their
apparently.
bullshit insanity.
Well, isn't that what Joe Biden did at the border?
Yeah.
Come on in. Didn't he say
Yep.
come on in, and created a fucking humanitarian crisis, a fucking terrorist crisis? Because
Or
let's
one
face it,
might say an invasion.
an invasion, and welcomed it with open arms without any sort of plan or any, like, he's like, come on, what the fuck happened, yo?
Yep.
Like, fuck these idiots, dude. Like, I'm not gonna say I could do better, but I think I could do better.
Oh, 100%. 100%. One, because you don't have to worry about running for office again.
No. Well, no, because I would destroy it. I would make
Burn it
it.
down from the inside.
Yeah, like I would make, because I'll tell you what, if nothing else, it will be the most entertaining time in America's life. Okay?
I'm excited for it.
Yeah. What the fuck, America?
What the fuck, America? Peace out.
Fuck off.
Bitch.
Later.